This is episode 36, 6 lessons in 6 years. Welcome to the Doc Fitness podcast, where it's all about developing your mindset, training and nutritional knowledge so you can lose body fat and build muscle effectively while still living a real life. I am your host, David O'Connor. Now let's get into the show. How are we keeping, guys? Big welcome back to the Doc Fitness podcast and the final episode for 2019. I wanted to record today's episode to round out the year really as such, and just to kind of help you, I suppose, review how your 2019 went and what lays ahead for you in 2020. Because obviously if you're listening to this podcast, you want to develop some part of yourself, whether that's training, mindset, nutrition. And you probably know by now that all those really intertwine together to produce, we'll say, proper life-changing results. Because, look, if you're listening to this, you know by now that short-term diets, they just don't work. Aggressive training plans, aggressive diets, just stuff that you take on that you cannot sustain, you know that doesn't work. And you know that you need to develop kind of the bigger picture in order to have that overall kind of package for true behaviour change. And it's the 20th of December I'm recording this episode, and on the 10th of December I launched my article which rounds out this year and marks the phase 3 of Doc Fitness. So, like, again, just to recap, if you haven't a clue what phase 3 was, phase 3 kind of marked the third evolution phase of Doc Fitness, where we revamped our whole facility so we can serve our clients better. It's as simple as that, really. And we invested heavily in state-of-the-art equipment and purpose-built our facility to serve kind of the way we do things better as well. And that's what phase 3 was. Along with phase 3, which we celebrated 2 weekends ago, it marked the 6th year of Doc Fitness as well. So we're open 6 years, which is another incredible feat for us. And we're massively grateful for the position that we're in now compared to when we first started back in the day. But that article basically went through the 6 main lessons from the last 6 years. And in that article it says that we've coached thousands of clients. We're not exaggerating when we give that figure. We have coached thousands of clients, whether it's here in Kilcolgan or online. And when you have coached like in the thousands, or like we coach hundreds of clients weekly, you begin to learn what works, what doesn't work. And obviously bear in mind that everything I'm talking about is based on principles. Everything I'm talking about is backed in evidence. Everything I'm talking about is backed in first-hand experience and common sense. But when I say kind of what works, it's more so like what you need to do to truly change things at the core level. As I said already, I assume you're listening to the podcast to change something or to get better at something or to just shift your perspective a little so you can live a higher quality of life, because sometimes it comes out a bit cheesy, it comes out a bit corny, but it's not, because it's what our mission statement is here at Doc Fitness. We want to help you develop a higher quality of life, and we do that through the training, nutrition and mindset kind of methods that we use. We do it through the proven systems we have here in Kilcolgan and the proven systems that we have online as well. So what I want to do with this episode is to first go through that article. And what caught my eye during the week as well was a comment or a question on Instagram I got, which was basically, Dave, from your perspective of a coach, what do you think are the main reasons why people fail something in the new year? And when I say something, I basically mean taking on the gym or changing their diet or whatever it is. And we'll get into that afterwards. So hopefully there's many takeaways here for you in this episode, guys. I'm sure there will be. So if you're listening to this in the car, out for a walk, wherever it might be, this might be an episode where you might need to listen to it twice. I'll try not to waffle too much because I am super passionate about this stuff, so I can talk about it a lot. But let's take it away with the first lesson from the last 6 years, and we'll see where we will go from there. So, number 1. Adherence trumps everything. Now, if you haven't read the article, I'm going to accompany the article obviously in the show notes, guys. I'm going to let you read that as well, because sometimes when you read things, you hear things, and when you read them a few times over, that's when they start to stick better than just kind of hearing them once off or reading them once off or listening to them once off. But what I mean by adherence trumps everything is that on a basic level, if you cannot stick to something, you will not fucking do it. Sometimes it is as simple as that. If you do something that's highly unrealistic, that you will not stick to for beyond 1, 2, 3 or 4 weeks, really what is the point in doing it? I understand you might have this mindset where, I get in shape now for this wedding, but you're forgetting about the 12 months after that wedding. What's going to happen when you completely rebound after that, put on more weight than ever, and probably don't get back into a gym then again for 6 months? That's where the real problems lay, because then you develop bad habits again, and it's nearly like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way, because you tell yourself, I tried X, Y, and Z, and I did it, but then I went back worse than before. And then that becomes all you know. So that's the way you approach, quote unquote, how to lose weight. Because no matter how good a training program might be, no matter how good, we'll say, a diet might appear, if it's unrealistic for you, you will not stick to it. Adherence is the fundamental, we'll say, foundation to everything that you do. And obviously, kind of below this again, guys, is that it shows if you're doing something that's not principle based, if you're doing something that's not evidence based, if you're doing something that will say, let's just call it right, if you're doing something that's not right, adherence is kind of going to go out the window anyway. For example, if you come to Doc Fitness, you know that you're going to be coached effectively according to where you're at right now, and then what's the next step for you. We're not going to throw a mindless diet plan at you and say, here, stick to that, do it to the letter, come back to us there in a few weeks. That's not what we do. If you go to some place and they do that with you, adherence is already fucking super hard straight off the bat, because you're trying to do something that you're probably not in a position to do, you're not ready for it, or you just don't see the sense behind it. So again, adherence trumps everything. Any fool can put someone on a restrictive diet, but if you cannot stick to that restrictive diet or whatever it is, what's the point? Same goes for your training. If you're like, I need to train 5 days a week because that's what I did before my old coach 3 years ago, it's kind of like, right, in my head it's kind of like, but if you just get consistent at 2 to 3 days first, maximize those days, enjoy those days, see progression in those days, and then we can look at adding on stuff more down the line. Again, it's just, guys, this adherence factor. If you are telling yourself that you need to do X, Y, and Z straight off the bat, you're already setting yourself up to fail. So adherence is probably more than you think. And if you stop listening to this episode right now, that is just a massive thing that you can take away and implement for next year. Can I actually stick to this long term? If not, something needs to change, or you need to change your approach. This directly leads us then into number 2, which is the second lesson from 6 years. And that is, don't bite off more than you can chew. And I started this point in the article by saying, I'm sure you've heard as well at the same time, is how do you eat an elephant? And obviously the answer to that is one bite at a time. You cannot consume more. You cannot consume a whole meal, guys, in one bite. But that's the way people approach their training and their nutrition. So the problem when it comes to this is that people just try to take on way too much. And again, it leads back to that adherence thing. If you're taking on too much, you're not going to be able to sustain it. You can't bite off more than you can chew. It's like when you are going from 0 right now, or even if, let's just say that you're going to the gym a couple of times a week, but you just kind of go on the treadmill because you don't really know what you should be doing, or you kind of half-arse the weight section. But then you start something proper, we'll say, in January. And boom, you've gone from 2 days a week at the gym to going to 5 days a week in the gym, or telling yourself, I have to exercise every single day because that's what I read online, or that's what some influencer girl does online, and I need to do that. And straight off the bat, you're doing way too much. It can be with the training. It can be something as simple as even like mindset stuff. You know, that mindset, meditation, affirmations, goal setting. It's just massive these days. People talk about it like it's, people talk about it in so many different realms. You can get confused by that. But I've seen people do quote unquote too much in the mindset sector of things as well. And again, it's overwhelming for them. Like, it's kind of like, why the hell am I doing all this stuff? I don't even know why I'm doing it. Same goes for your food. It's like going your normal, say, what your daily routine with food is now, to going completely cold turkey and quote unquote clean eating. The fact of the matter is, you do not need to do that. But again, this depends on kind of the way you approach things. Do you have a proper evidence-based coach behind you, helping you along the way, etc., etc. But above all, you're biting off more than you can chew. Like, if there's one thing that we have learned, guys, in the last 6 years, is that those baby steps that you think mean nothing at the end of the day are absolutely huge. And I use the analogy in the article as well of the pixels on a screen. So you're probably listening to this more than likely on a phone, maybe even in a car. And the screen you're looking at this on right now, the TV you go home this evening and watch, the laptop that you might use, the computer you might use at work or whatever it is, that is made up of thousands of pixels all added together. And every single one of those pixels has a role to play. Every single one of those is important. But if you only look at one of them, you pull one out of the screen right now and you put it on the table beside you, it doesn't really look like that much, does it? Because it's tiny, it's insignificant. You don't even probably notice that it's gone from the screen. But the key thing is, when you add those thousands of pixels together over time, you add those baby steps together over time, they all come together to produce absolutely huge results. And that's what we're after. We're looking to focus on those mini wins that we can keep moving forward for daily. That, get this is the key thing, that probably will produce the same amount of results than if you went to, we'll say, quote unquote, harder or more restrictive, or you did more at the start. You're probably going to produce the same amount of results in 6 months time to 12 months time anyway. And that's the way you need to think about these things, guys. If you're thinking about 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, you're probably already lost. You need to realize that if I want to lose body fat, it has to become a behavior change thing. You don't want to lose body fat and put the fucking thing back on again 6 weeks after you stop it. You want to know how to transition into a phase where you can maintain your weight, enjoy your training, and maybe even do another fat loss phase later on in the year, or whatever it might be. There is ways to break that up. But again, it's taking things on one little step at a time, remembering or reviewing your habits that you do, like principles, or not principles, but like pixels, and those pixels add up over time. I suppose an easy example of this, guys, would be if you wake up in the morning and you grab a cereal just because you think you need to have breakfast and you race out the door and you eat that cereal in a matter of minutes. What if you flip that in its head, had a pint glass of water or an empty glass left by the sink every time you wake up? So the habit is being set from the night before. Again, doesn't seem like a big thing, does it? Just putting a glass of water beside the sink. And you come down, you're up in the morning, and you fill that glass with water, and you drink it. May not seem like a big thing at the time, but you're having some refreshing water to kickstart the day. You're starting your day in a less kind of rushed mindset. You're not scoffing down cereal just because you think you have to have cereal. And it just gets you thinking about things overall, and you're starting your day in a more positive note. You might have breakfast 2 hours later and work. It's just little things like that. Those are what I mean by building up those small little habits over time. Number 3 then brings us on to measuring things on the macro level. And I suppose the easiest way to look at this is like measuring someone's body weight. Obviously 99% of our clients are after fat loss, body composition change, so we do keep an eye on the scales. The scales only tell one piece of the puzzle. They tell you what your current weight is for that point in time. They do not tell you if you're stressed at work, if your lady's on time of the month, if you've lack of sleep and you're holding more water. It does not tell you all that. It just tells you what your weight is for that point in time. If I tell you to hold 5 kilo plate in your hand, you're going to be 5 kilos heavier in the scales. Does not mean you put on 5 kilos of fat. But, funnily enough, this is the way people look at the scales and the way they view it. Because again, they've done it for years, or they've heard it from their parents. Or they know someone close to them that has done Weight Watchers or Slimming World, and they get so feckin' hung up on the weight that it becomes like the center focus for everything. So the thing is, if you're properly adhering to the principles behind fat loss, i.e. you're in a caloric deficit, you're going to lose body fat. If you are properly resistance training, yes, you might gain a little bit of muscle mass over time, but your weight will come down over time. If some trainer is telling you that you're not losing weight because you're building so much muscle, they are full of shit. Simple as that. I'm not going to get into that argument here. Simply because building muscle is not as easy as people make it out to be. That said, if you are looking for fat loss changes on the scales and you're weighing yourself once per week, you're probably shooting yourself in the foot. Simply because usually people weigh themselves on a Friday. And it's usually a day where, or not Friday, but like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's usually the case anyway, what we see. And usually it's a time of the week where they're probably a little stressed, more stressed than usual, they're lacking in sleep, etc. And usually that scale might throw that result off by 3 to 4 pounds in terms of a water fluctuation. However, If you weighed in on a Monday and a Wednesday and a Friday and took the average of those 3, you're just getting a more accurate representation of your weight. So now you've gone from looking at things on a daily level to looking at things on a weekly level. And then if you zoom out again, you're looking at things on a fortnightly level. Zoom out again, you're looking at things on a monthly level. And that's kind of what we want to get our clients to see, because you can get caught up in the day-to-day of, I didn't feel strong today, I didn't hit, I didn't deadlift as much weight as I did last week, or just wasn't feeling it today. You get so hung up in that one session of that 1 hour that you kind of forget that, Jesus, I've made savage progress over the last 3 or 4 months. I have made probably the most progress I have in my life, but now I'm getting pissed off because one weight has shown up, or I didn't feel as strong during that session for that point in time. And believe me, guys, we're all bad at this. Me personally, I'm bad at this. And sometimes we just need that perspective shift to realise that and see things with a bigger picture level, or you need someone to call you out on your bullshit, so to speak. That is why we have a coaching team here in Doc Fitness. We can do that for our clients. It's easy for them. But even as coaches, like, sometimes we are bouncing off each other to help us see the bigger picture with that as well. Because again, measuring things on a bigger picture level, so like whether you do that monthly, whether you look at like the last 3 months, the last 6 months, it gets you out of thinking in terms of singular things or singular days or singular weeks, and you can just move on with things. Because I suppose the saying, or the quote that I kind of love most from 2019 is that what you do most of the time matters the most. It's like people getting pissed off this time of year because, there's a heap of food and drink around and they're eating a lot more than usual. Who cares? You're eating a bit more calories and the world's not going to end. Like, yes, you might gain a couple of pounds, but who really cares in the day? There's a social element, there's the family, friends. Like, you cannot replace that. You can't, like, you'll never get that time back, like. And people getting hung up on 3 or 4 days a year, but they're forgetting about the other 360 days a year. Do you know, it's madness, like. So that's why, again, we need to look at things at the bigger picture level. Moving on. Lesson number 4. If you fall off the wagon, take action. And this one, sometimes it doesn't make sense for some people, but again, I've experienced it firsthand myself. We've done it with clients. And all it basically means that if you think you've fallen off the wagon, if you've ate more meals than you should have, or you think you should have, or you've ate more calories in one day, just going to take a sip of my coffee, or you've missed a couple of gym sessions that week, it's not the end of the world. Again, it's kind of relating back to point 3. What you do most of the time matters the most. But in this case, if you do feel like you fell off the wagon, if you haven't gymmed in 2 weeks, if you've eaten around you for 3 weeks, take action on the thing you need to do. Because the thing we need to do the most is the thing that we are avoiding the most. And that can be solved by taking action on that very thing. Yes, sounds simple, but it can be that easy when we do it. It's usually like a thing where I said to people that haven't been to the gym in 2 weeks, like, we get it with clients monthly. And that's why we have a coaching team that we're getting onto those clients and making sure they're okay and everything's alright so we can get them back on track. But sometimes it's just having a chat, and it's like, alright, what's up? Look, work was crazy. The kids are all over the shop. I just kind of lost my motivation to train the last few weeks. That's perfectly fine. You're fucking human at the end of the day. And it's like, right, what are you going to do next week? So what's the plan? Like, I want to go to the gym, but I know when I come home from work, I'm tired and blah, blah. And I'm like, right, can you bring your gear bag with you to work? Can you make 5 o'clock? Can you make 6 p.m.? Can you make 7 p.m.? Whatever it is, you kind of pencil that in. Right. First thing to do is book yourself in for that session so you're committed and you have to be there. You've already taken action on it. Step number 2, have your training gear with you when you go to work. Have things ready. The second you finish work, you don't sit down and go on Instagram and think about, I have to go to the gym now. You do the next step in that process, which is basically put on your gym gear. The next step in the process is drive to the gym. When you focus in, guys, on those singular steps, the process, so to speak, before you know what, you're in the gym, you're warming up, boom, your session is halfway through, you're done. And then you feel great about yourself. And you build upon that momentum. It's kind of getting the rock moving again. Sometimes if that rock slows down, it's going to take a big feckin' shove to get it going again, if you think of a big boulder in your head. But once you get that boulder moving, the momentum train will come again. Yes, it might slow down certain times of the year, but that's normal. That's part of the process, so to speak. And that's all I'll say on point number 4. Lesson number 5 is a gigantic one. And it's one where I talk about it probably 3 or 4 times a year with our clients, because I want to make everyone aware of it as much as we can. And I also want them to remind those that already know it. Myself included, the coaches included. We all need to know this stuff. So lesson number 5 is expect the dip and move forward anyway. So what this dip is I don't know the actual scientific term for it, but there is a scientific term for it. I'm just going to call it the motivational dip, right? We'll call it the dip in general. And basically that's when, I'll give you a simple scenario. Let's just pretend, right, that you're highly motivated to do something in January. You've had enough, you're sick and tired of the weight creeping up, you're sick of feeling like shit, you're sick of lacking energy, you want to feel good about yourself, you want to lose some fat, you want to feel sexier in the clothes. There's nothing to be ashamed about that. Everyone wants to fucking look and feel better and look better naked. So you're highly motivated to do that. So you sign up for something. Let's pretend here you come to the gym, or you sign up for one of our online programs, for example, right? Boom. Motivation is at an all-time high. You're ready to dive in and probably do anything that the coach tells you to do. And over time, right, this can be a matter of weeks, and this can be a matter of months. But over time, let's just say if your motivation level was at 100%, as time goes on, that motivation level starts to slowly dip down. For some, it dips down quicker than others. For some, it dips down sharper than others. But the majority of what I'm trying to get across here is that it dips. Then it comes to a point where it's like things get to an all-time low. It's basically like, why am I bothering to cook all my meals and eat as healthy as I can? And why am I bothering going to the gym so much? And you start to question everything because the process is hard. It's like learning a language. You're motivated to do it at the start, but when you get deep into that language, it's like, oh shit, there's a shit ton to learn here. This is going to be hard. I'm going to have to slog through a lot of this. The problem is that most people fall off the wagon when that dip comes. They just give up because they're probably used to doing that all their life. So yeah, that's kind of it really. They just stop. They go back to the start. A few months later, they might get motivated again. They start something again, and they keep going through that cycle. But all we get our clients to do really is get them to expect the dip. That's it. It's to expect it. It's to welcome it. It's to know when it comes. And above all, it's to still have their bigger picture goals in mind, so they know that they will get out the other side of this dip and things will get better than over time. Because once you come out the other end of the dip, so to speak, things start to get better again, and you start to kind of fall back in love or get the kind of motivational spark back, and you enjoy your nutrition, you enjoy your training more, etc. But again, it's to expect the dip and move forward anyway. That's lesson number 5. Lesson number 6 is that the basics will always rule. And this could be a podcast in itself, but like what we're talking about here is in terms of nutritional principles and training principles. Like when it comes to training, for example, progressive overload is the key when it comes to resistance training over time. Like if you're not either doing more sets, more reps, more weight, better technique, more time, if you're not progressing your training at some level, you're not going to actually progress your training. You're going to hit a plateau. And that's why when people ask is like, Dave, what's your opinion on a TRX class, or what's your opinion on Zumba or boot camp, or any class you can think of? What's your opinion on X, Y, or Z? I'm like, yeah, they're grand. They're a form of exercise, but are they going to get you to what you want over time? Probably not. Don't get me wrong. They do suit some people, but that's just not what we do. We don't want people to come in and just go through the motions with their quote unquote exercise, get a bit of a sweat on and go home. We want to actually teach people how to train effectively for their goals and how to progress that training over time. Same goes for your food. What is the nutritional foundations behind food? How does energy balance work? How do I lose weight? How do I maintain it? How do I gain it? Is skipping breakfast okay? Can I eat 4 meals, or can I eat 3 meals, or can I eat 5 meals? Is it okay if I have some chocolate? Can I have chocolate at lunch? Can I have chocolate at 9 p.m? Can I eat late? Can I eat some carbs after X, Y, or Z? All these kind of nutritional myths, all these questions get answered once you understand the basics. And the fact of the matter is, they, for as long as we live, will always rule. Nothing, and I mean nothing, will replace those basics. No amount of gimmicks or fucking training devices that you might see crop up in the next few years. I've already seen some ridiculous ones crop up. None of them are going to replace basic, hard, progressive resistance training in the gym, or being in a caloric deficit to lose body fat. Every single diet under the sun as a basic refresher every single diet under the sun manipulates energy balance in order for you to either lose weight, maintain it, or gain it. That's it. There is no magic behind diets. That is it. We get our clients to adhere to that diet based on their goal. So, for example, if their goal is fat loss, we get them to adhere to a deficit whilst making that work around their lifestyle. Make it sound simple, I know, because there's so much more at play, and there's so much behaviour stuff at play. But guys, I hope there is some takeaways there in that article, and if you want to read it, it will be on the show notes of Doc Fitness Online, or no, not Doc Fitness Online, we changed our website, docfitness.ie/episode 36 for the link there, because as I said at the start, sometimes when you read something over, it can stick a little better. The second aspect of kind of rounding out this episode, guys, I just want to talk a little bit about Christmas time if you're listening to this before the 25th or before the new year, even after, is that if you are into your gym, if you're into, let's say, eating for better health, mental health, physical health, body composition, looking better naked, etc., please do not get lost in the whole Christmas thing where some people might tell you to be overly strict with yourself, or you're nearly over mindful with the food you're consuming, that kind of stuff. Like, it's no harm if your goal is, fat loss New Year, to be a bit smart with how you may approach Christmas. But again, you don't have to. If you want to eat all around you on Christmas Day and you're happy with that, and you know that, right, you're eating a shit ton of calories here, that's perfectly fine. It's a different story though when you start to feel guilt and you start to counteract that then by doing something else because of that guilt. We want to teach clients to not feel guilty around food, to know that food is a choice and that every decision they make is a choice based on what they want to do, because we believe in a client-led approach in that we give them the autonomy to hit their targets and hit their goals, and we're just the guide dogs guiding them along the way. So when it comes to Christmas time, yes, of course, we had a video on this last week. You can be a bit smarter by opting for lower calorie drinks and nights out if you are going on the beer a bit more than usual. I know I will be this Christmas because we have Christmas parties, weddings, birthdays. There's just so much on. I'll be smart about it, but that's just because I've ingrained those habits over time. I'm not drinking lower calorie drinks because I'm trying to save calories or anything like that. There's a little bit of that in it, but again, I enjoy it and I've built that habit up over time, and I just feel better on it the next day. You can do that. You can also be smart the way you structure your food. I'm not saying Christmas Day. Most of the days around Christmas Day and New Year's Day is just structuring your food in a better kind of way. Like if you want to eat less that morning because you know you're going to have a massive meal later on, you can do that. But at the same time, the same side of that coin, you don't need to do that if you don't want to bother doing that. We don't want to come across as people who are kind of like, be mindful with your food. Eat less so you eat more later on. Not at all. Like, you can take that up the wrong way. We're not saying that, but what we are saying is that you can do it if you want to do it and be okay with it. But at the same time, just remember that things are a choice is all I'm saying. If you don't want to go and walk off your excess calories over Christmas, that's perfectly fine. If you want to go and walk all over the place during Christmas and go for a few 5k runs, charity runs that are on locally, yes, you're getting the extra benefit of burning off a few extra calories you've consumed. But again, who gives a shit? Like, so what if you gain a couple of pounds? Big woohoo. You're going to lose it probably the next few weeks anyway. It's just really looking at these things from a level of just kind of like, stop overthinking things. Enjoy Christmas time. Christmas is about family and friends and spending time with loved ones, because if there's one thing you do not get back, it's fucking time. And the older you get, the more you realise that. Lastly, this whole episode, guys, has covered this question, to be honest, but I'm going to answer it anyway because I felt it was a very, very deep topic on my Instagram during the week, and it hit home for a few people who messaged me back after. So basically that was, Dave, from your perspective as a coach, what do you think are the reasons, I'm trying to think of it off the top of my head, are the reasons that most people fail when they come to taking on something in the new year? So basically, why do people fail? Coffee sip. And it's a multifaceted approach in that people fail because, one, they take on too much, they cannot adhere to it, or they take on something that's kind of being marketed to them. It's airy-fairy. It's something like, I'm going to say Weight Watchers, Slimming World, fucking skinny coffee. No matter what it is, there's hundreds of weight loss products out there. They do something stupid, basically. that they haven't a notion of sticking to. But because they heard their friend lost 10 pounds and or 20 pounds and are a few stone it, they're going to do it. So that's number one. They kind of do too much too soon. And I think another massive part of it is that they're not doing the right stuff. Like I said, they're opting for these diets. They're not opting for like an evidence-based, principle-based approach. They're not focused on developing habits and behavior change over time. They're just following a plan, which is different. That's not going to help you create sustainable habits that you can bring home and teach your husband, teach your wife, teach your family, teach your kids, which is absolutely huge when you think about it, because we are all influenced by the food that we've eaten when we grow up. We're all influenced by our parents because they cook our fucking food for us. Again, eye-opener stuff. Why do people fail in the new year? They take on too much. They do something that's stupid and unrealistic, and it's not evidence-based, principle-based. Number three, I think a massive part of it is that they just dive into something without overly thinking about it because they're just motivated to get a few pounds off. And then an initial motivation wears off and boom, they stop. Because all that you've relied on is motivation. And motivation is not something you can rely on to get life-changing results or to stick to those life-changing results or live kind of a healthy lifestyle. Because this all comes kind of comes back, guys, to, you know, it's a bit deep and I don't want it to come across the wrong way, is that it's all about stuff that you want to create to be the person you want to be, if you get me. So basically, like, all the small little decisions and choices that you make with your training and your food are all a vote for the person you want to become. And you know, if you're sitting down with yourself in 2020 and you're telling yourself, I want to become a mentally and physically fit person who has fitness as a part of their lifestyle that they enjoy and love, etc. Blah blah blah. Let's just say that's what you told yourself, right? That's kind of going to become part of your identity, and every habit then around that is based kind of around that. Everything's leading back to that. But that needs to come from you. Like, you know, there's no point in fooling yourself on that. That also leads into the fact that people don't have strong reasons why behind doing what you're doing. You know, you've no driving force behind it. For a lot of people, it could be a mental health thing where they're just sick of kind of feeling like shit mentally, and fitness and getting better healthy, my English is terrible today, getting healthy, we'll call it, physically fit, etc. Like, it's probably the single biggest no-brainer thing you can do for your overall health. Is just resistance training and eating a bit better. Like, the biggest thing you can do for your health, hands down. And people that suffer from mental health issues or just feel a bit down or want to do something for themselves, they realise that, and that's why they love it, and that's why they continue to do it, because it's that much of an influence on your life. So again, you need to have strong reasons behind doing what you're doing. You need to have a bigger picture goal, like what you want to achieve in the next year. And then once you know that, you can reverse engineer. It's kind of like, right, what do I want to achieve at the end of January? What do I want to achieve by end of March, end of July, end of October? And you're all working towards that kind of 1 year target. But the key difference is that you're developing your habits and your behaviours over time that are geared towards that. You're doing something that's realistic and you can stick to it and you enjoy it. Another massive factor that probably could have went in the article as well. And you're seeing progress over time, and you've a strong coaching team behind you to help you plug along the way. You're not jumping into a commercial gym where you haven't a clue what you're at and you fall off the wagon 3 or 4 weeks in. That is just a number of reasons why people fail in the new year, or any time when they take on something, to be honest. I probably could go into 3 or 4 more, but I think those are the keys that I want you to get away from this episode. And that's really it. I'm not going to waffle on any further because I've gotten the points I want to get across there, guys, and hopefully they hit home for you before 2020 starts, or whenever you're listening to this. I wanted to keep this episode under 40 minutes. I think I've achieved that. I'm delighted with that because usually I ramble way too much. But guys, the show notes for this episode, like I said, will be over at docfitness.ie/episode 36. And if you are listening to this before January as well, we are currently taking waiting lists for our facility here in Kilcolgan for January. And we are also taking our waiting list for our online programs as well. So if you head over to docfitness.ie and you click on the Get Started page, you'll see you have the option to find out more about our trial here in Kilcolgan, and you can find out more about our online membership options as well, and kind of what's the story with that, because basically online we run a few fat loss challenges across the year. So this is our EP36 Fat Loss Accelerator Challenge, where it's basically stay focused for 6 weeks and lose as much fat as possible, as it is an aggressive style plan. Some of our clients that do this progress then into maybe like one-to-one online coaching, and we have an online monthly group option as well. But they are basically 2 starting points for people where we have our one-to-one online coaching, or else we have our 6-week fat loss challenge. But as I said, that is all over on our website if you're interested in getting on those waiting lists for 2020, or if you just want to find out a little bit more info. But guys, thanks again for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year to you. You can expect to see a few more episodes in 2020. Hopefully you will keep tuning in. And that's all for now. Chat soon. Bye bye.